They say at the end of every great thing, there's a leader behind the scenes that comes up the last. So I'm sure you already know where I'm coming from right now. A leader that I look up to, a role model, a teacher by profession, and a coordinator of the Creativity Activity Service component of the International Baccalaureate Program. My role model, Mr. Bharat. Mr. Bharat is a teacher and a coordinator who leads 2 grades with over 60 students, helping them organize events for their CAS component and engaging into leadership experiences. He uses a very situational approach in his leadership style. He is very democratic when needed. He's very responsive. There's a two-way communication with him, and he constantly takes your ideas even when there are no events. He'll just come up to you and he'll be like, hey, I need some help. Like, what do you think I should do in this position? However, when needed, he becomes autocratic and takes the key decisions to himself. With this, and one thing that I'm very inspired by him is how he created a platform that allows teenagers and the youth to engage in leadership activities. He built a CAS team. When I compared this with other schools, I found that there were no CAS teams. However, he built one where every individual gets to run and get elected for different positions, such as the finance chairperson, event planner, and therefore unleash their potentials and their skills and make a difference in the community today. Ladies and gentlemen, dear respective judges, organizers, parents, and my fellow participants, today I'll be presenting to you the strategies on how to become an efficient, inclusive leader and why that is important. To begin with, I would like to highlight the differences between an autocratic leader and an inclusive leader. An autocratic leader usually takes control of all the decision making. He barely consults with his team or his employees or his subordinates, while an inclusive leader, on the other hand, is usually more consultative. There's a two-way communication where he asks and consults for help, and therefore decision making is then divided. An autocratic leader, a perfect example, is Vince Lombardi, an American football coach who believed that discipline was key to the success of his teams that he was leading. So therefore what he did was he used an autocratic leadership style and approached that. What were the results? He won 6 NFL championships and 2 Super Bowls. On the other hand, we have McDonald's, one of the largest franchises in the world, who have now adopted a more inclusive leadership. And they created a slogan or a strategy known as Better Together, where they included more women into the workforce, into departments where women were a minority, such as cybersecurity and data managing. Strategies. How do you make your leadership more inclusive? 1. Create an organizational culture. Create a culture of tasks, where individuals in your team everyone would have different skills. Analyze them and understand what their strengths are. Give them tasks based on their strengths and let them lead that task the way they do. This way, there's more spirit within the team, more emotional energy, more efficiency in the output because they are likely to be producing best because of their skills. Second, delegate your tasks. Why is it important to delegate? As a leader, you usually tend to have a lot of tasks and the most responsibility. But when you delegate your tasks to your subordinates, you reduce the pressure on yourself. Second, you allow them to also use their skills and knowledge as they seem best. This is a motivating factor for them, and it creates an environment of personal growth where they can make mistakes and learn from them and move forward. Hold debriefing sessions. As a leader, especially in the youth body, we're likely to host a lot of events for our youth. And a perfect example is the 3Cs team holding this for the youth. I'm sure this is the first one that's happening. And they need to actually keep track of where they're making mistakes and what can be improved. Having a debriefing session with your team will allow you to understand the different mistakes that have actually taken place in your event or in your committee, even those that have been overlooked by you yourself as a leader. This way, you are able to create potential solutions as well as consult with them. Lastly, create a formative appraisal system. An appraisal system is usually to measure just the performance of the members of a team or the employee of a business. Creating a formative appraisal system is more to focus with how the employee functions, his strengths and his weaknesses, and giving them and directing them on ways that they can grow out of these weaknesses and make them their strengths. This allows the subordinates and the members of the team to actually learn from their mistakes, grow out of it, learn new skills, and apply them in their daily life. My personal experience with leadership and my class coordinator is when I was elected as a class finance in school. Well, in the beginning, also I was elected just a day before school shut down for COVID. So I knew most of it was just for me to store my money, to store the school's money, and just keeping the account straight. And whenever needed, just deposit money back to the schools and the students for expenditures. One day in August, he comes up to me and he's like, Sibtein, I need to renovate an orphanage with the previous batch, and I want you to run it because I have a lot of things going on. He delegated the task to me. I have never come across anything to do with renovations. I mean, imagine just handling Excel sheets and numbers, and now you're going to go into construction work. You're just confused, like, what am I going to do here? And I was like, wait, I can't negotiate. What if I'm going to get price hit? It's for an orphanage, it's for a social cause. I need to do something and make sure I do it right and most efficiently. I went out, I contacted a contractor I knew personally. I spoke to him and I'm like, hey, look, I'm working on this orphanage project and I want this to be done at a low cost but a good quality. Can you help me out? I went up to shops in town, got prices of different items that they required at the orphanage for the renovation, created site visits and more. And later we concluded, and it happened to be that that person, when I spoke to him, he felt very emotionally connected with how I gave him the pitch. That allowed me to improve my negotiation skills and him to actually sponsor us with labor, with not charging us labor at all. And the only thing we charge us would be cost of the materials. I improved my negotiation skills because of one delegation, one task delegated to me. I could negotiate better, create an emotional impact, do better for the community as well as a whole, and serve a purpose greater than myself. Lastly, the youth are leaders of tomorrow. It's important to create an inclusive leadership style, to include them and allow them to unleash their potential, utilize their skills, their ideas best, and perform practical applications of these skills so that they can grow in life and do what they do best and most productively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sibtein.
I like what you say about leadership. I want to ask you, how do you lead? As you said, the youths are going to be tomorrow's leaders.
Yeah.
I would like to, if you use on that or not agree with that, you are a leader already.
Yeah.
Right? How can you lead elders for a better tomorrow?
How can I lead elders for a better tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I believe is to identify that, or to realize that there's a great generational gap between the elders and us. It's like, well, not at all times, but it's likely that some elders aren't very adaptive to the current generation and to the current environment, like for such as technological advancements and so on. So what happens is one of the best examples is we see that elders usually face problems in using new gadgets and technological items, right? While us as teens are able to do it much efficiently, much better. That's why you constantly need to teach our adults those things. So there's a generational gap here. So as knowing that there's a generational gap, as a leader of today, I vision what's going to happen a few years down the line. I create my vision. Okay, I want to make an impact. I want to do certain things in life. And to make it there, I have to take this path. However, the elderly may not be able to follow my path as I do. So because of the generational gap, because they aren't very adaptive to already what's happening, they wouldn't be able to adapt to what's later. So I would need to I would then have to create a communication bridge between us and actually help them realize that, you know what, let me take that role, let me take it forward from here while you watch how I do it. And then you can learn as well, because learning is a two-way journey. It doesn't have to be with just adults teaching children, children can teach adults. And that's what I always learned in my class with my CAS coordinator. He always said, learning is a two-way journey. I will learn from you, that's why I come to you. I don't always make it look like it's me alone who knows everything. And that's one thing that stuck to me till today. So creating the bridge of communication and the realization between the two of us that he can learn from me, I can lead the team forward, and he can actually even then be better adaptive to the current generation.
Last point. How can you bring that to the community?
How can I bring that to the community?
Your leadership to the community. How can you bring it up?
Okay, well, so whatever we do today is always for the future, right? And there's always progression and change in life. So if I am going to be an influential role, okay, I'm going to be a leader of the youth body, I'm going to be there for quite a long period of time, right? I'm going to be making targets for the future. So when that's leadership style that I exercise in this body, one day I might shift to another department in the Jamaat, right? On the community level. When I do that, that leadership style that has stuck with me in one body is more likely to be utilized in another place. Therefore, when I progress into different spheres, into different departments, I'm able to influence this leadership style and encourage a much more inclusive leadership style in the long run than in the short run.